Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing a video today, and this is a controversial subject that has come up in the metal world, and if you want to call it metal, and I know a lot of people don't consider metalcore metal, but I do to a certain extent. And it's Between the Buried and Me. One of their guitarists is accused of the R word, and I do not mean retard, as in Jay Retard, great punk musician. I do not mean that. He was been accused of. So, this is my whole take on the deal, because it kind of evolved over today. Because at first, I'm going to do a video about this separately. I go to bat for, because our society, the pendulum has swung so far in certain ways. This is just my opinion. I will automatically say, well, until proven guilty, sorry, innocent until proven guilty, and I'll defend the guy. And part of that, I will explain in the video why I do that a lot of the time. And I've been accused of being an apologist and all this stuff, and my videos, and and this is the thing that I don't want to go into that in this video. So this is how I view it. So basically what happened, according to the accusation, first of all, I'm going to say Metal Cucks or Metal Sucks is a tabloid rag, worse than Blabbermouth. They're looking for clicks, so they had to talk about this accusation. This woman came forward. She said years back there was a show or whatever, and she was at a bar, and she got drunk, he got drunk, and they did it in a did some things in the bathroom, and she got pregnant, had an abortion, which is messed up, of course, sad. I'm not saying the abortion's sad, just the whole ordeal of that. And now she is accusing him of the R word. So this is what I think about the situation. I think at first I was kind of on his side, and then I was reading some of the texts that later on were in the conversation, and I find them a little bit suspect, or sauce. Hey, I'm a Generation Z, I'm gonna say sauce. What? I hate these words, but it's a little sauce, or it's a little, it seemed kind of callous in this weird way, like the last text of the message that he sent. So this is what I think. I think that we do not talk about this at all. Okay, so I think there's this gray area with regards to drinking and sex. Obviously, I've done it while drunk, and my girlfriend was drunk at the time. I've done that, numerous times. As anyone who actually lives on planet Earth has probably done. I don't see it as something super problematic. Now, we weren't blackout drunk. It happened several times with, namely, like, I didn't really get drunk with a lot of women. There was one woman in particular that was my girlfriend that I got drunk, more into drinking at the time. She was, so I kind of got drunk with her. Yeah. There's some other stuff that I did in that relationship that I completely feel ashamed about, which I'm not going to mention in this video, but this was not one of them. This is not one of those things. So the whole thing, I'm revealing a lot about myself here, even by saying so I think it happens that people, I don't know when people can consent as far as when they're drinking. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on that. There's been it's been a debate for ever since this new politically correct age we're living in has come up. Like Lacey Green has videos about it. I would say a few drinks, but with a caveat, because so many people have that one night stand. I mean, whatever happened to I don't remember what happened last night, that was a whole trope in the 80s or 90s or whatever. People used to do that all the time. Did they feel violated? Maybe some of the time they didn't. A lot of times they didn't. So, like, people were arguing, well, now you can say, you were assaulted after the fact, after you consented after the fact. And I think some of that might be true, because I think if you're drinking or on drugs, now, the thing is, we can hold people accountable for car accidents while they're drunk or killing people while they're drunk. But, it's like if someone has sex, like is on the receiving end, if someone is also drunk or not drunk, all of a sudden, all accountability goes out the window. It's, you know, it's total hypocrisy. It's you know, it's postmodern feminism bullshit, of course. I mean, I'm just going to be honest, you know, let's not beat around the bush, but I'm trying to like deal with these facts. Now, everybody used to, I mean, I didn't ever really had this kind of experience. Probably why some of my predilections now are a little bit weird to people, because I did not have those frat part, you know, I wasn't in a frat, or, you know, did not have those types of moments where I had to walk of shame and all that stuff. I didn't do all that shit. I was buying $40 CDs from Germany, you know, of power metal or whatever back in the day, back when I was supposed to be having those experiences. So that probably explains a lot to people of just saying that alone. So this whole thing about, is the guy an R word pissed, you know? Now, I do know that he was like feeding her drinks allegedly, and they were worrying about it. So I think there is some accountability there if that's indeed what happened. I mean, I'm a little bit more on like kind of in the middle about it than I was earlier today. Now, but we have to have these discussions, and we have to come to a conclusion, because otherwise you're going to have those gray areas. And I think that's what is at heart with people that are defending this type of thing. We're on this precipice, and we've been on this for a while, where a guy, men particularly cis, hetero, hetero men, I'm just going to say, we're kind of walking on these eggshells, and we don't know which one is going to crack, and we're scared. Now, there is things that I've done that I regret, like I said, in relationships, that I know, even at the time, and I'm not saying that I did anything like this guy did. I'm just saying there's been situations where I've looked back, especially at my younger self, and been like, oh my God, that's bad, dude. You know, even though I'm into the idea of like, you know, whatever you want to call it, like approaching women and, you know, all that stuff. There's a certain precipice that even I've crossed where I think a lot of guys have. And it's like, we're not all like these problematic, toxic predators. I mean, it's just, men aren't just, I mean, either you believe that all men are predators in a certain way, or you believe everybody has a predator in them, or you believe that maybe there's things that we do that are problematic at times that we regret. And, you know, I pinched a girl's butt in middle school, you know, on a dare. I mean, you know, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not going to sit and think about that all day and like volunteer for rain or whatever, and like try to atone for things and like become a feminist because of that shit. It's fucking like 30 plus years ago. I'm not going to do anything like that. And I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, when I was 25 years old and my, you know, girlfriend, and it was problematic situations when we were, you know, having situations with each other. You know, I mean, people have these like weird situations where they end up, you know, intimate, and then they're like in these fights and stuff. And this is just a traditional thing in relationships. But there was, I mean, obviously there's problematic moments that I don't feel good about from back then, you know, that I would never put myself in that situation today, because I want a more, it's hard to explain, because this particular person I'm thinking of, that the story, she obviously is not like saying like, you know, she's not like withdrawing her, she was like the opposite towards me, because like she tried to get back, you know, we got back together like years later for a couple months and stuff. It's not one of those situations where like, oh my God, Matt is a terrible pig, you know, but there were certain situations where there was a gray area there. And all I'm saying is that we need to discuss these things and try to come up with a compromise or something, because it's like with this dude, like he thought of it. He probably, maybe, okay, that end text was weird, but he might have thought of it. Like he's sorry was a situation that was definitely gray area. This guy is a little bit more on the sketchy area. But, you know, I like Decapitated, the band Decapitated got accused of some of the stuff, some bad things. And they got, the charges got dropped and all this stuff, and it was kind of a scam, I guess, or whatever. We got to come to this. I think what we're scared of what men are scared of is that they don't know which way to go with this. It's like, it's directionless. It's like, well, if I am with a woman, can she come back later and say, oh, this is not, I did not truly consent to this. We're scared of that gray area getting broken, that bubble bursting. That's what people are scared of. And that's what I am afraid of that, of course. I'm not as afraid of it as I probably used to be, but I'm like more afraid of it in a way, like, I guess in certain theoretical ways. I think people, especially the women I have dated, like the last few women, the last few dates or women I've dated or whatever, they're a little more enthusiastic. Like, I'll just, case in point, I went on this date it was like 2018 or something like that. I went on this date with this girl. It was like a cam girl, and she was pretty upfront about things. And she was like, hey, you want to, come over after? And it's like, yeah, I mean, I think they're a little more enthusiastic nowadays. That's the flip side of this whole woke thing, is like, some women are more assertive. So it's actually a good thing, because you're like, oh, I guess I can, I don't have to worry too much about them coming back later and saying something, and lying or something. But yeah, I do get scared of that stuff. I think this situation is not black and white. I think there's a gray area. I don't know. There might be more texts that we haven't seen, but the texts were okay up to a certain point. Now this is, I think, what we do. The men, when men react to this, they are afraid. We are afraid. Okay, I guess I'm talking about this now, which I was going to do a separate video about. We are afraid that we're going to get in that situation, like maybe, be perceived a certain way that we're really not, and then get blamed for something. And they'll have regrets or something, even though they said yes, or they implied yes, or whatever you want to call it. Which, I do not believe in this affirmative consent thing, because I think it's ridiculous, but because body language and other stuff is involved in. When's the last woman that you've, I mean, I guess it's just like one of those things. It's like, and I don't know if it's because when, it's biology or evolutionary psychology or evolutionary biology, or just our society or culture. When's the last time you actually was up front? It's like, do you want to have sex with me? Affirmative consent. I don't buy it, and maybe down the road it will be more socially like acceptable to do that, but to me that's just like kind of a wuss, like, that is gonna turn off the woman much of the time if they come out and say it's more implied things that are more appealing to women. That's just my opinion. Very very jaded, antiquated opinion, I suppose, whatever. But yeah, I don't know about this whole situation, and I do feel genuinely bad about kind of defending him at first in a certain way, but like, and then there was a whole age thing that I went into, and it's just like, dude, I don't think me dating a 27-year-old is rape. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean I'm a PEDO person either. That's just ludicrous, and people are accusing people of that for wanting to date younger women and stuff. It's like ridiculous, and it's just like our society is just insane. And there's this particular woke guy on the Metal Sucks thread that was just calling me, like, he called me crust punk Jared Fogle and all this stuff. Like, oh my god, dude. I can't believe I get into these. This is one of my bad habits, is getting into these discussions and arguments. And I get paranoid that people are going to read them on my Facebook and stuff. I'm just like, dude, I mean, just get a hold of yourself. Someone was actually coming to my defense and like saying, this is so stupid, But yeah, I don't think anything's as simple as, the reactionary side, which I come from, obviously, in these situations for various reasons. I'm going to do a more, I'll just say this, I'll do a more in-depth video about why I feel this way. Or the more lefty woke side is saying they're both right and they're both wrong, So, that's the way it goes in our culture. That's about all.